Welcome to the Carriker Chronicles, the People Show. Checking the pulse of Husky Nation, brought to you by DPS Concrete Construction. Check them out at dpsconstruction.net. Also, Carriker Chronicles at carrikerchronicles.com. This is my gut reaction to Nebraska going up to Columbus, losing to Ohio State 21-17. All right, but they were vastly improved. They played vastly better. They played with heart. They played with pride. Didn't win the game. Ultimately, you want to win the game. Had chances to win the game. But I'm going to get into all that. All right, if you're like me and you realize that there's only 12 game days in an entire year that we get to enjoy, that we're guaranteed Nebraska football out of 365 days, and you're going to enjoy those 12 game days, regardless of how certain things might look, then smash that like button. If you're one of those folks, everybody was frustrated last week. Everybody was pissed. It was bad a week ago versus Indiana. But if you're one of those folks that just threw it all in and you said, F the program, I'm out, and you just went over the top with negativity a week ago. I dared to put out a show earlier this week where I talked about Nebraska could earn respect this weekend. I was trying to win the game, but earn respect. And if you're one of those people that just didn't want to hear anything like that, I'm just going to be honest. You and I are not on the same page. We will never be on the same page. All right. I have no problem calling it like it is, pissing off coaches, just giving my honest opinion, right, wrong, or indifferent. But I will never throw in the towel on Nebraska football. All right, coming into this game, there were 9 stats that I thought were quite interesting comparing Nebraska and Ohio State to each other coming into this game. 3 on offense, 3 on defense, and then 3 that were kind of random. When it came to rushing offense, all right, Ohio State was number 2 in the Big Ten, Nebraska 14th. When it came to total offense, Ohio State was number 2 in the Big Ten, Nebraska was 10th. When it came to scoring offense, the Buckeyes were 2nd in the Big Ten, Nebraska was in the bottom half yet again. Rushing defense, Ohio State was 2nd in the Big Ten, Nebraska was 7th. Total defense and scoring defense, the Buckeyes were 1st in both those departments. The Huskers were 8th. The Blackshirts were 8th in both of those departments. When it came to red zone offense, Nebraska dead last in the Big Ten. Ohio State number 1 in the Big Ten. All right, red zone defense, Ohio State 1st in the Big Ten. Nebraska 7th. When it came to penalties, all right, Nebraska was 106th in the country and 17th in the Big Ten. Ohio State was 6th in the Big Ten, 29th nationally. It was interesting. I was listening to 93.7 The Ticket. They do a phenomenal job. Check them out at theticketfm.com. I was listening to the pregame show, and they were debating, all right, where's an area where Nebraska might have a strength, okay, might have the advantage over Ohio State. And on the show, nobody could think of one. So I texted in. I said, punter. I said, Brian Buscini, the punter. My point is Ohio State was such a big favorite in this game. They were coming off a bye. They were still pissed off about the Oregon game. They had at home, no excuses. Right? No excuses for Nebraska either. What happened last week was what it was. I will say this. It was interesting because the @Huskers football account highlights a player for every game, and they chose to highlight the punter, oddly enough. They chose to highlight Brian Buscini for this game, and some people, including myself, were like, is that an ominous sign? In fairness, they highlight seniors all the time. It was just kind of a weird coincidence it was the punter versus Ohio State, but I digress. Okay, the opening kickoff. This game did not start great for Nebraska. The opening kickoff, new kickoff returner Quentin Ives muffs the kickoff return. The Huskers start with the ball at their own 9-yard line, much like a week ago when we made a bad decision when our first drive started at the 1-yard line. 2 weeks in a row, something similar happens on the opening kickoff return for the Huskers. The first play of the game. Nebraska was just a little rattled in this game, okay? Had to calm down, had to gather themselves. Dante Dowdell slips. I couldn't tell if they fumbled the exchange. I have to go back and watch that later. Okay, that was the first play, not a pretty first play of the game, a run play with Dante Dowdell. Play 2, 6-yard screen. We've got to block better on the perimeter if we're going to run so many freaking screens as Satterfield likes to run, but I digress. Third play, Raiola gets sacked for an 8-yard loss. Brian Buscini, just mentioned him. Okay, punt, shanked the punt, 30 yards. All right, phenomenal field position for Ohio State. Nebraska's defense played well enough to win today. And as bad as the special teams started this game, the special teams honestly played well enough with the field goal kicking. We've got a field goal kicker, ladies and gentlemen, to win this game as well. And I even noted Nebraska looked shook. They looked rattled to start this game. But Ohio State's first series, the Blackshirts stood tall. It was a 4th and 1 after a couple of good plays for the Buckeyes, but a sack by the Blackshirts. Nebraska's D lineman on the 4th and 1 stuffs Ohio State's run game. Big stop by the defense on Ohio State's first drive, starting deep in our own territory. Here's an early observation that I had. Ohio State clearly wanted to make some changes since the Oregon game. Oregon lit them up. Oregon's pretty good. But they had a bye week after that game. Ohio State made some changes. Ohio State wasn't much of a blitz team. before the Oregon game. Their pass rush wasn't very effective either. They have two probable future first round draft picks at defensive end, but their pass rush is probably the weakness of their defense. It's kind of weird. So they were blitzing and they were attacking and they were stunting a lot more today. Blitzing from the second level and stunting from the first level with their defensive linemen. Okay. They probably wanted to challenge our offensive line and our young quarterback as well. As we all know, our defense was humiliated last week, but the fast forward, okay, in this game, after Nebraska's first two drives, Ohio State's first two drives, our defense forced a 3-and-out, got a fourth down stop, and Jamari in those first two drives, and Jamari Butler has two pressures and a sack versus their backup left tackle at Ohio State that he's flat out exposing so far. Again, this is me taking notes throughout the game. I wrote, he's exposing that backup left tackle so far in this game. And then I asked, can our defense keep this play up the entire game, and can our offense help at all? That was my little note I made to myself. Can our special teams, I wrote, stop sucking. Eventually, obviously, the special teams stepped up and played better. My early thoughts so far. Nebraska's next drive, Dylan Raiola scrambles on a third down and reaches out for a first down. 3 plays later, he scrambled on third down again and almost got the first down. I don't care what his strengths are. He does run better than most people think. I just love that Raiola is scrambling and willing to lay it out there. All right. The Huskers end up punting on that drive. The Buckeyes' third possession, still 0-0. Nebraska's in Ohio State's backfield a lot and pressuring Will Howard a ton. Ultimately, the Huskers on this drive give up a long touchdown pass from Will Howard to Carnell Tate, who beat Malcolm Hartzog over the top. Decent covers, though. Honestly, I thought well-placed ball, nice catch. It wasn't like he was just screaming wide open on this particular play. The Buckeyes' drive was 6 plays, 91 yards. They took 3:02 off the clock. And it was almost the end of the first quarter at that point. Ohio State leads 7-0. The Huskers' next drive, Ohio State was doing a lot of showing zone and then playing man, okay? Which honestly makes them much more susceptible. When your backs are turned because you're covering a guy man-to-man versus sitting in your zone facing the quarterback, it makes you more susceptible to quarterback runs. I don't think they were concerned at all about Dylan's legs in any way, shape, or form. They're also running a lot more stunts with their D-line, as I mentioned, in blitzing. Okay, here we go. Before this Nebraska drive, Ohio State had 92 total yards of offense. Nebraska had 17 total yards of offense up to this point. And I wrote, Nebraska needs to run less screens and shelve the sideways passing game for a while, especially since our perimeter blocking is still not good. All right. The Huskers' next drive was their longest drive of the day so far. The Huskers' John Hull makes a 39-yard field goal. He ended up 3 of 3 on the day. Okay, he came into the day 1 of 5. And his one made field goal was 21 yards. And the last time Nebraska made a field goal in a game was September 20th. All right. I wrote at the time, this is a big confidence booster. Making that first field goal since September 20th, all right, I thought, helped pick the Huskers up a little bit, if not a lot of it. All right. The drive included a good 38-yard scramble by Dylan Raiola. All right, the Buckeyes lead 7-3. That 38-yard scramble by Raiola was tied for the second longest run of the season for Nebraska this year. The longest run was a 42-yarder by Emmett Johnson versus UTEP back in the first game of the season. Ohio State's next drive, they converted a third down with a 6-yard quarterback sneak. Then Will Howard hits phenom wide receiver Jeremiah Smith for a 60-yard touchdown pass. Smith was covered. This dude's a future top 10, 5 pick, okay? Jeremiah Smith. Smith was covered by Isaac Gifford. Not Gifford's strength. Covering in space against a guy like that, not a favorable coverage matchup for us. Ohio State leads 14-3. And I guarantee at this point, a lot of people were like, all right, Ohio State's going to roll. They're going to take over. I made the note, what are we going to do now? Because either we roll over like we did against Indiana or we fight back. And I was so proud they fought back. All right. Really, 2 big plays hurt the Blackshirts. Ohio State wasn't just methodically moving the ball up and down the field. It was just those 2 big plays early on in the game anyways. The Huskers' next drive, a punt. At this point, the Buckeyes have 8 tackles for loss so far at this point in the first half. Ohio State's offense attacking vertically with their pass game more today than they have most of the year, at least up to that point in the game. All right, Ohio State's next drive. They really struggled to protect Will Howard today, honestly. All right, they did drive the ball, attempted a field goal, but missed it. All right, and actually that second and third down right before their field goal attempt that they missed, it was a 42-yarder they pushed to the right. Nebraska's defense got a sack on second down. The Blackshirts got another sack back-to-back downs on third down as well. And special teams has not been a strength for Ohio State this year. Their 2 biggest question marks were their offensive line coming in, and their offensive line had played well for the most part this year, except that left tackle that's a backup, and their special teams has not been a strength either. It continues to be that way for them. All right, the Huskers get the ball with 2 minutes left on our 30-yard line before halftime. Had to burn some timeouts earlier on in the game in a couple of situations. Only one timeout left. I won't go into a ton of detail here, but the clock management wasn't exactly great by rule. Also, a bad offensive pass interference call on Isaiah Nayor that did not help. It was not PI on Isaiah, all right? Ultimately, John Hall makes a 56-yard field goal, all right? We seem to have found a freaking field goal kicker, ladies and gentlemen. Hallelujah, praise the Lord. Oh my goodness, the halftime score is 14-6, Ohio State. Here are some of the halftime stats that stood out to me, ladies and gentlemen. Total yards, Ohio State 197, Nebraska 115. Pass yards, Ohio State 167, Nebraska 43. All right, rush yards, Ohio State 30, 2.1 yards per carry. Nebraska 72, 4.5 yards per carry. Third down percentage, Ohio State was 1 of 4, Nebraska was 3 of 9. Yards per pass, this was the difference so far. Nebraska's yard per pass, not yards per play. Yards per pass was 2.9, Ohio State was 17.2. That was the difference to that point in the game. Halftime. All right, before I get into the second half, my thoughts overall in the game as well, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, DPS Concrete Construction. They are your concrete experts, your retaining wall experts, and things the like. Check them out at dpsconstruction.net if you want this type of work done. And also, if this is the type of work you do, you want to work for a guy like Jason Armstrong, the owner of DPS Construction, check them out at dpsconstruction.net. Allen Capital Group. If you're looking for someone to help you grow your money, do it smart, take care of your money, put your mind at ease when it comes to monetary concerns, it's Allen Capital Group. You can check them out at ALLENCAP, allencapgroup.com. They have offices in Ogallala, Grand Island, and Omaha. Allen Capital Group, next level solutions for next level needs, ladies and gentlemen. Unfortunately, Tommy Hill was out today. I forgot to mention that earlier. Now, if you listen to my show on the ticket or you watch the Chronicles this week, I just talked about respect, earning respect. Obviously, you want to win the game, but earning respect. And I also said, I actually think Nebraska can keep it close for a half. It was the second half I was concerned about. If they didn't come out and play with pride in the first half, good Lord, we were going to be in trouble if the Huskers didn't. I figured they'd do it for a half, but would Ohio State just take over the second half? I didn't know. How would our halftime adjustments be? I didn't know. I didn't want to fall behind early either, like at Indiana. I had a lot of concerns, but I really thought the second half was going to tell us a lot. All right, and I wrote, let's see what happens in the second half. Ohio State's first second half drive, 3 and out. And Will Howard threw his first incompletion of the day on that drive as well. Husker ball. I do have to say something. When I wasn't going to, but the refereeing is just awful. The game today, it was awful. It was bad. It was horrible. It absolutely sucked. I literally wrote, don't say something, Adam, and I'm ignoring my own notes. And it's not just the game today. It's college football as a whole. It's bad. You're going to make billions of dollars and you're going to nickel and dime the refereeing? They're not even full-time employees. Do better. It's asinine. It's not assa 7, assa 8, it's asinine. All right, wow, it's bad. All right, let's move on. Huskers opening second half drive into Buckeye territory after taking nearly 7 minutes off the clock. Mr. Automatic, that was actually Mitch Sherman tweeted that. Shout out to Mitch Sherman. Mr. Automatic, John Hull makes a 47-yard field goal. All right, the score is now 14-9. All right, Ohio State leads Nebraska. The Buckeyes' next play, the Huskers intercept Will Howard. Malcolm Hartzog returns it to the Ohio State 7-yard line. Ladies and gentlemen, this was like, all right, we got a chance to win this bad boy. All right, 4 plays later, 4th and goal. Ty Robinson is brought in at fullback, the defensive end. On a power play to the right, Dante Dowdell leaps in the air and is stopped short. Now, I do not like when running backs leave their feet. And I never have. I'm not just saying it. If you've heard me talk about this before, I'm consistent. I don't like it because you lose all your power. All right, the other thing was he actually jumped from before the 3-yard line, which means he's got to jump 9, 10, 11 feet into the teeth of Ohio State's goal line defense to get into the end zone. It just doesn't seem likely. Not crazy about that. All right, we get stopped. Buckeyes drive starts at the 1-yard line. They punt. Huskers drive starts at the Buckeyes 42-yard line. Our ensuing drive. When it comes to Dylan Raiola, just keep in mind, he was once an Ohio State commit and a Ryan Day commit. Obviously, we knew that, but I wonder, what that was like for him today going into a place that he committed to, a coach he at one time, a few years ago, committed to play 4. Now he's the only true freshman quarterback in America that started every game this season in the FBS. All right, the Huskers get a first down, then have to punt on the next drive. Both defenses are playing well in the third quarter. In fact, Ohio State only has 16 yards of offense so far this third quarter. There's 1 minute left in the quarter. All right, the Buckeyes go 3 and out. Ohio State punts again. Remember, last week, Indiana had over 200 yards rushing and 5 rushing touchdowns. Today, Ohio State had the best running back in the Big Ten last year, Travion Henderson. Quinshaw Judkins, the best running back in the SEC, transfers in. They have the most dynamic running back room in the entire country. It's not even debatable. Will Howard can run. Ohio State doesn't run more with him. I'm not sure why. That's their business. Okay. But Ohio State, when the third quarter was over, had 48 yards rushing. At that point, 2.4 yards per carry. And Ohio State didn't get a single first down in the third quarter. All right, I wrote, let's go offense. Come on, Marcus Satterfield. We got to find a way to do something to help the defense. And our special teams, our field goal kicking is actually doing and helping us out today as well. The Huskers had the ball 10 more minutes at this point, 27-12 to 17-55 than Ohio State did. The Buckeye fans start booing their team, I noted. Nebraska's next drive, they drive down the field and score. 20-yard run from Dante Dowdell and a 33-yard pass on third down from Raiola to Thomas Fedoni. Help keep that drive going. All right, on a 3rd and 7 from the 8-yard line, Raiola throws a hot read pass, a read he had failed to make early in the game, honestly. Okay, Ohio State blitzed up the middle, man-to-man coverage, blitzed up the middle with their safety, Caleb Downs, all right, and that got the ball down to the 1-yard line. 1st and goal, Ty Robinson in at fullback, Dante Dowdell leaps into the end zone. What do I know? He leaps into the end zone. All right, Nebraska leads 15-14. The Huskers go for 2. I actually really like this play call. I like the play design. I liked everything about this. All right, they get an empty. Indicates pass. It's not Harburg at quarterback, it's Raiola. Okay, indicates pass, put a wide receiver in motion, fake the run, sneak a man underneath, hit him with the shovel pass. Hey, I really like that play design, especially on a 2-point conversion. All right, beautiful play call, 2-point conversion, good. Huskers lead 17-14. Nebraska has more, at this point, more total yards, more rushing yards, and a better third down conversion rate right now than Ohio State. They're outplaying the Buckeyes in the second half. Now, the Buckeyes show why they're a title contender and answer with an 8-play, 75-yard touchdown drive to take the lead 21-17. That drive took 4:43 off the clock. We got a heavyweight fight here, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, I'm reading this as I wrote it. We know the outcome right now. This is the journey I took through the game. Many of you probably had something similar, experienced something similar. Let's see how the offense responds with 6:04 left in the game. Unfortunately, Huskers 3 and out, and Raiola holding his shoulder. And I noted, hope it's better than it looks. But the Blackshirts come out. They force a huge stop. Huskers get the ball back with just under 4 minutes to play, 76 yards to go, a 4-point deficit with the ball in Dylan Raiola's hands. All right, during the course of this drive, the refs called targeting on Ohio State. Their fans started throwing bottles on the field and other stuff on the field. And I'm sitting here thinking, great. It's going to be Texas, Georgia all over again. They're going to try to get the call overturned because that's what happened with Texas and Georgia. They overturned it because a bunch of college kids threw a temper tantrum. Even if it was a right call, you can't set that precedent. Luckily, it didn't get to that level in this game, but it shouldn't happen in any way, shape, or form. This has to be addressed. I digress. All right. Thankfully, it wasn't that bad today as it was at Texas versus Georgia. We know the outcome. Obviously, Ohio State ends up winning the game 21-17. If I'm Ohio State, I don't feel great right now. I don't feel great about our special teams. I don't feel great about our offensive line, the left tackle situation. I mean, that's their problem. Here's what I'm going to tell you. There's no moral victories, okay? That's the attitude as a former Husker player, as a Husker fan, as a proud Husker alum that I've always had. And people can argue, hey, Ohio State was looking ahead to Penn State. Let's ignore, again, the fact that they were off a bye week at home, probably still pissed off about the Oregon game. Let's ignore all that. Meanwhile, Nebraska was playing their second top 20 ranked team on the road in as many weeks. Okay, this is college football. I don't want to hear any of that noise. You either find a way to get it done or you don't. But that being said, I felt like obviously wanted to win the game. Did we win today? No. You play to win the game. And we wanted to win. But I said earlier this week, I wanted to at least earn respect. It wasn't just how the previous game went, or the score of that previous game. It was how it went. It was how it looked. It's how it progressed. It was just everything about that game. I wanted to at least earn respect, play with pride. Of course, we wanted to win, but when it came to earning respect and having hope for the rest of the season, I think some folks had given up hope. I love the passion. I respect the passion. I have the passion. Okay, but so much changes from week to week, as you saw from last week to this week. I don't think Indiana's going to go boat race Ohio State. So all of a sudden, how do we play so much better? Because they're college kids, because you never know who's going to show up on any given Saturday or Friday, because we play Friday night games. That ball bounces funny. That's why I love this game, because you never know what's going to happen, as infuriating as it can be at times. All right. I do feel like we earned respect today. We played with pride. Again, we wanted to win. Didn't happen. But there's plenty of hope for the rest of the season now, I feel, as well. And a couple of thoughts on Dylan Raiola. He missed a couple throws today, okay. But he played with heart, passion. He led this team, and I love this kid. He officially won me over today. That's a leader. That's my quarterback. Ladies and gentlemen, success isn't about winning every game or having success all the time. It's about how you respond when you get your butt kicked sideways. How you respond to adversity, in my opinion, in my experience, that determines how successful you'll be in the future, how you respond to adversity in the past. The worse the adversity, the bigger the response needs to be. I guess those are my final thoughts. I got questions for you fine folks at home. Here's my thoughts. Pluses and minuses through the first 7 games. We showed we can be a good football team today. We have areas we need to improve, and all the above. We're going to learn more about this football team the last 4 games of this season than we probably did the first 8, because they're all 4 winnable, they're all 4 losable, and I'm here for every moment of it, and I can't wait to see it. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you subscribe, ring that notification bell. As always, I'm going to put out my Sunday night show, 6 p.m. Central Time on YouTube. Social media will be 7 o'clock. If you miss it, I interviewed ESPN's Joey Galloway last week. All right. As always, check out CarrikerChronicles.com. It's where all your Husker sports hopes and dreams will come true. Here are my 3 questions for you fine folks. Let me know your answer in the comments below. Number 1, do you believe Nebraska earned some respect today? Number 2, what did you think of Marcus Satterfield's play calling? Our defense and even our special teams played well enough to win this game. What do you think of the play calling? Number 3, do you see hope for the rest of the season? Do you agree with me? Do you completely disagree with me? I'm cool either way. Until next time, go Big Red, and always remember to throw the ball.